Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Ben on Death and Taxes versus Jason on Burn. Ben leading out with that dreaded Aether Vial on the first turn. Over the course of a long game, that will generate a tremendous advantage, but Jason is going to make it his priority to make sure that it does not become a long game. Try and get Ben out of there as quickly as possible, and Monastery Swiftspear is a solid start to that. A Rashad Port going to be targeting this mountain. Will he have the Lightning Bolt in response? He does not. That's always disappointing when Rashad Port achieves very little. And now Monastery Swiftspear turning sideways, hitting Ben for 1 again. And a slow start. Riftbolt going to face, and we'll see what happens with this Aether Vial. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, at this point, it's actually bigger than Thalia anyways, so Eidolon of the Great Revels added into the mix. Oh, and not ticking up on Aether Vial. It doesn't look like. It looks like it's still on 2. We have Thalia. And Rashad Port going after one of these mountains. And so far, this really lining up pretty well. Got a Lightning Bolt in response to Rashad Port clearing the Thalia. Pumping up Monastery Swiftspear. And there's going to be at least 4 damage coming in here. Aether Vial turns sideways. We've got a Charming Prince. And it looks like he will gain some life and trade with Eidolon. But another Eidolon comes right back down. Up to 3. And this is where Death and Taxes really starts to run away with it at times. Being able to use Aether Vial to bring out Recruiter of the Guard, to go get Flicker Wisp, to go get more flickering action. Flicker Wisp can flicker your Recruiter of the Guard to get you another Flicker Wisp, and all of a sudden you end up with quite a clock. A bunch of 3/1 flyers can team up to close out a game surprisingly fast. Death and Taxes can kind of turn that corner from disruption to aggression in a unsettlingly fast way sometimes. Now, Spirit of the Labyrinth trading with the Swiftspear and Lava Spike coming in. And now another Eidolon. Ben's not going to be casting spells that Eidolon will punish him for. That will be nearly lethal. So we've got 3 Rashad Ports tapping down Jason. Price of Progress would be a disaster here. What does Ben have? That is it. Oh, rough. Just a couple of lands. He is very dead there. And this is an important matchup in Legacy. Burn and Death and Taxes are both significant portions of the meta in general, and they are certainly present in our metagame. We've got a great crowd, often in the range of 30 people playing on Wednesdays, closer to 20 on Fridays sometimes, and Death and Taxes and Burn are both accessible decks. Have not really been hit by the price spikes that we've seen across much of Legacy. So all of a sudden, dual lands, I mean, Underground Sea, $1,200, $1,300 for mint copies at this point. You can still get played ones for under $1,000, but I mean, the notion that a played Underground Sea is going to be more than $1,000 in the not so distant future is somewhat shocking. There's a lot of factors that go into that. That'd probably be another type of video. Don't want to get into monetary theory here. But Ben's going to have the play, and he's got a Caracas, a non-basic. Now, it does give the ability to protect Thalia, which is nice. And Swords to Plowshares is going to clear this Goblin Guide before it does too much damage. Not quite living the dream. Here we go. Stoneforge Mystic. Likely for Batterskull. It really is just a hellaciously powerful card versus Burn. Now, the fact that he got Umezawa's Jite may indicate an expectation that the Stoneforge Mystic will die very easily thanks to the burn spells, but it could also mean that he already has Batterskull in hand. And another Stoneforge Mystic. This time grabbing Batterskull. Goblin Guide's going to turn sideways. When Ben's done shuffling, he's going to get a peek at the top of the deck. And it's an Aether Vial. Depending on how Jason plays this, it could give insight into whether or not he has Smash to Smithereens at the ready. That is generally Burn's removal of choice versus Batterskull. But you got to get them while they're under 3 mana available. The ability to return Batterskull to hand for 3 is just devastating. Oh, and Umezawa's Jite comes down. And Jason not attacking, indicating that he does not have the Smash to Smithereens. And this is going to be pretty bad. This is going to be pretty bad. You can't really expect Jason to turn the Goblin Guide sideways with the Batterskull available to be put in. A lot of players, it's a bluff that is unlikely to work. And without the Smash to Smithereens, you're not actually going to be winning the game anyways. Yeah, this is getting pretty gruesome. One of the more brutal aspects of Umezawa's Jite with Batterskull is the ability to pump the Germ and get that extra lifelink damage in. Just really catapulting you way out of range of Burn's best possible draws. I mean, Burn is pretty finely tuned and very capable of doing 20, 21 damage to your opponent. It's a lot more to ask when we're talking about getting in 30 or 35 damage. That becomes a very different situation. But Ben easily taking that game to force a third off of the back of Batterskull, which is really probably the key card in the matchup. Stoneforge Mystic and Batterskull, just incredibly important. Burn's all about doing that damage, willing to trade cards for pushing through damage, unlike many other decks. I mean, usually when we're talking about formats like Legacy, you're trying to get as much value out of cards as possible or doing things incredibly fast. Burn, totally willing to just throw lightning bolts at people's faces. You're down a card, they're down 3 life, fair trade, and we'll see if it's actually good enough. Eidolon joining in as well with Thalia, a couple of iconic 2-drops. I think we got the thumbnail figured out for this video already. And Chain Lightning does clear the Thalia, and Eidolon comes in. Caracas a little late here in its ability to protect Thalia, but Skyclave Apparition, that's the real deal. This card is a Vindicate on a stick, and with the ability to potentially protect it with Mother of Runes, and the downside of getting a vanilla creature really not being outside the realm of what Death and Taxes can handle. Death and Taxes is very comfortable getting into combat situations, dealing with opposing creatures. Swords to Plowshares, Flicker Wisp, so many other cards can interact. Oh, and another Eidolon has been taken down by a Skyclave apparition. And right now, Jason looks like he might just be stuck on 2 mana. And Roiling Vortex, that is, tempo-wise, that is a brutal turn. You're already behind. Oh, and look at this. Jite, this is no bueno. Pushing through 4 damage and getting counters on there, which can be used for life gain or just to kill opposing creatures. Even if you stick another Eidolon, it's not going to be around. Now, it looks like there's no counters on that Jite, so Ben may have taken that opportunity to just gain life while Jason was tapped out, unable to use the Roiling Vortex, I believe is the name of that new card from Zendikar Rising. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. But we've got a Chain Lightning getting a 2/2 creature, and I don't like the removal of those counters for the life gain. Does not feel like it's relevant enough. And a Lightning Bolt has this really turning sideways here. Now, Stoneforge Mystic could make up this ground, but I mean, if those counters were on the Umezawa's Jite, you would be able to use them to push the Skyclave apparition outside of lethal damage. When your life total is high, I would tend to think about those counters more along the lines of killing opposing creatures with -1/-1 effect, or pumping your creature to keep it outside of burn range. I don't know that the life gain is the way to go there. Roiling Vortex does kind of dare you to do that. Just a couple of mountains. Often all that burn needs, to be honest. Burn very often is going to be happy only drawing 2 mountains. Some of the builds now running Exquisite Firecraft or even Wheel of Misfortune to allow that 3rd mana to be impactful. But I mean, there are plenty of hands that can just take you out with 2 mountains, no problem. Looks like a Chain Lightning and an Eidolon. This Eidolon is a bit of an issue. Everything that Ben might be looking to do to get back into the game has that extra risk if it's 3 or less mana. Now, Batterskull, 5 mana, so that is not going to trigger Eidolon. But Ben is tapped out, so if Jason has an answer to Batterskull, this could actually be a really, really bad spot. Life gain will not be an option. Everything turning sideways. Eidolon dies. And Fire Blast going to the dome, finishing the game off as Ben actually dies to the tokens from Skyclave Apparition. That's, I think, a first that I've seen on the channel. Skyclave very often works out far better than that, but in that game, Jason was able to take that opening and run with it. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.